everybody, my name is Hope and welcome back to my channel. I like musicals, they're a big part of my life, and today we're going to be talking about some underrated musicals. Now, I know there's a whole argument on what musicals are overrated, what musicals are underrated. I get it, but I would say I'm quite well versed in musical theatre, and therefore I feel like I have a logistical podium to stand on when I make this argument. Also, I feel like underrated musicals are a lot more common than overrated musicals. I don't really think any musical can be overrated unless it has like terrible themes and morals that people ignore. But I would say as a whole, a lot of musicals are really solid and are solidly rated for what they are. And I think sometimes the target audience for musicals are just a bit younger and therefore people think they're overrated because more people talk about them. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. So before I get into this video, remember that you can like, comment, subscribe, do all of that fun stuff because it really helps me out. And you can follow me on my social medias, which is Hope Wilson E. That's Hope Wilson with an E. On Instagram and TikTok. And I hope you can't hear the rain through the mic because it is chucking it down right now. But without further ado, let's get into it. So the first musical I'm going to talk about, I feel like people are going to know these musicals. These are not like obscure musicals, but Something Rotten. Like, who talks about Something Rotten? Literally no one. And I have a problem with that. If you didn't know, Something Rotten is a musical set in like Shakespearean times. I was going to like use that as a paraphrase, but Shakespeare's a character in the show. So Shakespearean times, and there are these two brothers who are writers, but they're not as successful as Shakespeare. So one of the brothers goes to a soothsayer to say what Shakespeare's next greatest play will be. The soothsayer's not very good and says it's going to be called Omelette, and so they write a musical called Omelette, and that is the plot of the show, and it's all about their successes and stuff. So it's a little fun musical. I would say it's not like slapstick comedy, but it is a funny show. But I think what makes it so underrated is not only are the characters like actually interesting people with personalities that actually have like some depth to them, but the songs slap. They are so fun. Like, it's a good time. What I like about Something Rotten is like basically all the songs are up-tempo songs. I love a good up-tempo, let me tell you. And I love a good up-tempo. And, you know, ballads are all well and good, but like, I'd rather be having a fun time with an up-tempo. Like, there's a whole 8-minute number called A Musical. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's 8 minutes. And there's like 52 musical references in this one song, and for me it just ticks a lot of boxes, I gotta say. And like Christian Bale and Brian Darcy James were in the original cast, which is just like, you know, fangirl moment, what can I say. Shakespeare is a douchebag, but in the best way. There's just so much to like about this show, so much, and so I would highly recommend it if you don't know it. Okay, number two comes as no surprise. I'm talking about Dogfight. I love this show, and I feel like I've brought this up for pretty much the entire time I've had a channel. It's so good, and especially for what is a movie adaptation, so it's a musical based off a film, it's probably my favourite one of all time, and literally no one gives it the time of day. So Dogfight is a musical set during like Vietnam War times, and it's about these boys who are trained to be Marines, and they place a bet which is called the Dogfight, which is basically where they have to bring the ugliest girl to the party, and whoever wins money. And our main characters are Eddie and Rose, and Eddie basically picks Rose to go to the party, but obviously they end up falling in love, and it's just like this beautiful story, and the music is gorgeous. Like, it gives like the ballads give like once vibes, but then the up tempos give like mystical times, and then the boys songs are like, it's just so unique. It's a Pasek and Paul musical, but I feel like it's one that no one talks about because everyone loves The Greatest Showman, and that's fair, you're allowed to, but you should listen to this because it's so amazing. Like, I think character wise there's some amazing points. I still remain to this day that the saddest moment in musical theatre is in this musical, like by far. Nothing is topping it, I don't think. for me. The cast recording is impeccable. There's just so much to like, and so I highly recommend it if you want to listen. Number 3, I feel like also probably comes as no surprise if you've watched my channel for even just a little bit, and that's Carrie. I don't really know why people don't give Carrie the time of day. I feel like people only give it when it's like pushed into people's visions, like when The Destruction was kind of like a viral thing for a bit, you know, that kind of stuff. But Carrie is also a movie adaptation based off of Stephen King's novel, which was turned into a film, which was then turned into a musical, based off a schoolgirl who has like telekinetic powers, and she's not very popular, and it's about her like navigating school and family and stuff like that. But I don't know why this really never had any success. Like, I don't know if it has anything to do with the fact that the original musical like flopped super hard, so people didn't want to listen to it, or like horror movie musicals in general really struggling popularity wise. Like, I feel like there are a couple of exceptions, like Rocky Horror, Little Shop, Sweeney Todd, those shows, but like there are like hundreds of musical adaptations of horror films that I just feel like people don't even know exist. And even though people know this one exists, I just feel like it's not given the time of day. And I think especially for a show which has such like a strong female lead and leads, like I think Carrie, Sue and Chris are all really strong and interesting characters that people should want to play. I'm surprised it's not as popular, because like I said, like people don't really sing the songs, and they're all great characters, so I don't get it personally, but it is a good time and I highly recommend. Okay, next one I've not talked about in a good while, A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder. What a fun show that nobody, and I mean nobody, ever talks about, seemingly apart from me. So A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder is about this guy called Monty. He is a poor man who has a relationship with this woman called Sabella, and she's like, I'm breaking up with you cause you're poor, and she wants to be rich. And Monty finds out that he is like the 12th in line to be like the royal of this town, and so he decides that the best way to win Sabella's affection is to get rich and kill all the people in front of him in line to the throne. So that is the plot of the show, and Jefferson Mays in the original Broadway cast, his character, he plays all of the relatives, so there's a lot of quick changes for him, but really fun. It's Bryce Pinkham in the original cast too. I feel like I'm a Bryce Pinkham stan. I don't think I've ever mentioned this, but like I love him in Holiday Inn. Like I'm a big Holiday Inn fan. Random show, I know, but I think it's a lot of good fun, and I think it's just a super different show. Like it's just something a bit more adventurous and like a bit more unique, because it's an original story with original music. It also it's not a legit show, but it definitely sits itself in more of a legit-y style. It's not like your Wisden Eye Wicked Belt life, and it came out in like 2013, so it really does solidify itself as a unique piece of theatre, especially for the time that it came out. But it's just a fun little show that I think people should listen to and give the time of day, because it's cute and it's fun and it's underrated. Like no one talks about it, and it literally won the Tony. And no one talks about it, and that's why I think it's criminal behaviour. I'm just saying. Okay, and my last one, probably like everyone's gonna be like, Hope, what is this musical? This feels like a really random choice. And yeah, it is a random choice, but City of Angels. So I don't know if I can explain the plot of City of Angels, but it's essentially about this guy who's like is he a graphic novelist? He's some kind of like author, I think, and it's like about his life in the real world, and then his like written characters who are also people, and like he has like feuds with his like book counterpart. It's kind of fun. It's written by Cy Coleman, who I feel like no one really talks about as a composer. I feel like he's a composer that's often forgotten about. I also recommend The Life. I think The Life is a great show that again no one talks about, or at least people only talk about him for Sweet Charity and not for any of his other shows, which are also really good, if not better than Sweet Charity. And like, do I think this show is like the pinnacle of like musical masterpieces? No, but the show is not meant to be that. The show it's a bit of fun, but also like the jazzy score is so good. Like the tennis song, I'm not normally a fan fan of like innuendo songs in musicals because it's just not really my style. But the tennis song, I just think it's masterful. I think it's great. You're Nothing Without Me, Tune, You Can Always Count on Me. Like, there's just a lot of good numbers in that show that are just fun. They're just fun and I enjoy them a lot. And again, I think it's like, because it's such a jazzy musical, like I think Cy Coleman definitely loves his jazz music, because I think he was also a jazz composer as well as musical theatre composer. His jazzy stuff is just unique and different and like just is something new. And like, I say new, his musicals came out like many years ago at this point, but you understand what I'm saying. It just gives us a different vibe. It gives you something other than like the BFA belt, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with, but like we have to appreciate what composers did to set themselves aside and make themselves unique. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, those are my 5 underrated musicals. What do you think your underrated musical would be? I personally think this show is underrated, but that's literally what the whole video was about, that, so that kind of would be a waste of your time and mine, right? But anyway, what musicals would you say are underrated? And with that, you can comment that down below, but you can also like and subscribe because it really helps me out. You know, you can like it if you like it and all that. You can also follow me on my social medias, which is Hope Wilson E, that's Hope Wilson with an E, on Instagram and TikTok. And with that, keep enjoying musicals as much as me, and I will see you in the next one.